Hey guys, what's crackin'? Godsman here coming at you with another V-Clan collection reveal, and today, oh boy, my heart wasn't ready for it. We got Dragruler Phantom already? Yeah, no cap, he's right here. We see him right in front of us. Oh, I mean, I was anticipating this thing being a Revenger's main and all, and oh boy, I just somehow expected this to be like the last card revealed rather than like the second one, basically among the first, right? So this caught me off guard, admittedly, but hey, it's a good thing overall. I love Dragruler, I love Revengers as a whole, so hey, the sooner the better, right? That leaves more time to experiment, more time to be able to figure out the optimal way to use this card. But let's just go ahead and read the effect first before we talk more about that. So, what does our boy do? What does he do? It's good stuff. So, yes, obviously, retrain. So, two effects for Dragruler Phantom. First one, auto. When this unit, and follow along with me here, there's going to be a lot of like specificities to these two effects. Auto. When this unit is placed on Van Circle by riding from a unit with Revenger in its card name during the ride phase, that's important, search your deck for up to one Revenger in its card name, call it to rear circle, and shuffle your deck. If your opponent's damage zone has 4 or less cards, Soul Blast an Illusionary Revenger Mordred Phantom. Choose one of your opponent's Vanguard and deal it a damage. The second effect. When this unit attacks, Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1. Choose all of your front row units with Revenger in its card names or Blaster Dark. Retire all other rear guards, aka your back row. And for each rear guard retired, all of your front row get 5k until end of turn. If you retired 2 or more rear guards, stand all of your front row rear guards. Sheesh. As opposed to, can I just say straight out, as opposed to RFD reverse, which seemed pretty like mid, if not a dumpster fire to some upon reveal, although of course he was a lot more valuable later. This, right off the bat, looks pretty powerful. I mean, Owlleaf was an okay unit, but at least he had like 3 effects, and they seemed like pretty cool effects. So, like, altogether, you can tell they were trying to VFI him pretty harsh. With Dragruler, this seems like a dead-ass good Vanguard. Like, no lie, Dragruler seems like a very self-sufficient, very self-reliable Vanguard. To get the most of them, you're probably going to be doing the Mordred Phantom stuff, of course, I'll get into that in a bit. But I just want to say it straight out, this might be a hint that Clan Collection Volume 5 and 6 may be raising the power ceiling a bit. We may be seeing more powerful Vanguards, because these first 2 reveals are very promising. So, let's go over Dragruler. My impressions, of course I think it's amazing. And I already explained that a little bit with the fact that he just seems like the complete package, but let's go into it a little bit more. You know, this is my deck. This is where it's at for me. I would feel remiss not to explain just about all my thoughts with regards to Dragruler. So, going down the list, let's talk about the first effect first. So, when this unit is placed on Van Circle from riding a Revenger, you can search your deck for a Revenger and call it to rear. Now, one thing that's really cool about this, but also is kind of a downside about it, it only occurs during the ride phase, so you're not going to get it during the RFD turn if you're riding it from RFD. That's completely on purpose. I understand why, because otherwise it's another attack extender for free, because keep in mind this part of the effect is free. But if you do ride it, then this is a free +1, you know, Counter Blaster, Soul Blaster, nothing. And what makes this cool is there's no grade 3 restrictions by it. Like, you could ride over a grade 2 Revenger, meaning this can be your first ride target. And if you ask me, this is a superior first ride target over RFD Reverse. Because with RFD Reverse, in order to get multi-attack, you would need to still discard 3 cards from hand and lock your back row. But as we're going to go into the second effect, which also doesn't care what grade the opponent is at, you can get 5 attacks without having to discard anything, so you maintain some good card advantage. Of course, you're retiring other rear guards, but I mean, come on guys, I think you know where I'm going with this. This is more preferable. Now, okay, back to the first effect though. pinging a damage to the opponents of 4 or less by soul blasting a Mordred Phantom. That's basically the cross-right synergy. That's checking, okay, if you play Mordred, then you're going to get the Dragruler effect, you know, the one that we all know about. And this is cool. I think that this is where the first effect is more of a I am going to kill you this turn effect, because, you know, your opponent isn't always at 5. As a matter of fact, the opponent can oftentimes be at 4, because when you're pressuring with like Vanguard and big rear attacks that may get crits from crit triggers, they just can't go to 5. You know, you just won't let them. And so when this is the case, this just sort of seals the deal, puts them in the crappy position. They can't get defensive, no nothing. That way, it's pretty cool. If the opponent's at 5, you don't need to care. You don't need to care. It's still a good ride on the final turn. Now, again, let me just mention this. You probably don't want to ride Dragruler Phantom off of RFD. You just don't want to do it. You want to save it for its on-ride effect during the ride phase. But what this does mean is, if you were to say replace RFD Reverse, which I totally understand, that's what I'm going to do as my first preliminary experiment with Dragruler. What you can do is, by having the Dragrulers instead, you just have your third ride off a full RFD turn be a Mordred Phantom. And the Mordred, yeah, sure, it doesn't get its effects, but it does enable this first effect to ping. So that's a cool idea behind it. If nothing else, just save this for the ride phase. Now the second effect, let's move on to that a bit. So the second effect is admittedly a bit complicated when you try to think about how you can combo with it. It seems simple at first if you're just playing pure Mordred, and it is when you play pure Mordred, because it's just, okay, ride this over Mordred, you just basically still benefit off of all of your force markers, but they get even more powerful. So it's just like Mordred, but better, or rather, it's a better Mordred when you fall off of Mordred, is what I mean to say. So, when you look at this, here's the thing. It's kind of restrictive because you have to retire all of your back row if you pay for this effect. So, and it's also is only affecting your front row. Off of an RFD, this will not combo. That's just how it is. Off of RFD, at least in V, this will not combo because you're only going to have 2 rear guards left, and because Dragruler only gets you a rear guard during the ride phase, you're not going to get a third. However, this is where I want to put in a potential, maybe fan fiction-y kind of hypothetical support. If we get a Revenger rearguard that can call a Revenger during battle, say when it's retired or whatever, that will put you up back to 3 anyway, which means you can retire 2 back row and then get a front row restand for a counterblast and a soul blast, and I guess also retire 2, but it's also a 10k to the front row. So, you know, it's still pretty good, right? It's another way to continue multi-tacking. It may not be the strongest thing ever, but I might still prefer it over the RFD reverse effect. But anyway, so that fanfiction land aside, this is still cool because in the final turn, right, we already assessed that the pinging of the damage is pretty cool, and it gets you the rear anyway. But as a follow-up, it is great, because whether you have done Mordred or you have done RFD, you are probably looking at a minimum of 3 force markers. But you're probably getting more, let's be real. It's probably more if you've done both. Heck, if you've done the full RFD turn and then went into this means it is indeed 4 force markers. That means, essentially, your front row restands are already beefy. They're like Mordred-esque beefy. So I think that while in a pure Mordred deck, this is really good, and it's optimal in a pure Mordred deck, it's also strong in a hybrid between Mordred and RFD, which is what I want, because that's the version I play, right? And this is great. This is more synergistic. It appertains to both sides. The fact that you get to restand Blaster Darks or Revengers is cool as heck. It ties things together. The one thing I complain about it, though, is it kind of discourages our want of a Blaster Dark Revenger. It starts to seem a little bit less likely, because now this thing is also specifically mentioning Blaster Dark. It can still happen. Don't worry, guys. It can still happen, and it would work with this effect, because whether it's treated as Blaster Dark or it's not and it's just a Revenger, it can restand it anyway and buff it. So overall, Dragruler is the complete package. He is fan-freaking-tastic. There's loads of ways you can really like take him as a concept, as a first ride target, as a finisher, being optimal in hybrid, being optimal in pure. The level of power is phenomenal with this thing. It does 4 things. It superior calls, it pings damage, it restands the rear guards, and it buffs them up while you're at it. It does so much, and it just goes to show that I think the power level might be raising, not to sound like a broken record, and this is a cool sign of things to come, especially since we're, I believe, going to have Dayusha reverse being revealed on Thursday, because I think that's what the hints was mentioning about it. And something that is confirmed is Ammon reverse on Tuesday. Ooh, that's gonna be a good one, especially from buddy Gear Shift, right? You know, Retro's maybe my thing, but Ammon's his thing, so we're gonna see a thing or two about a thing or two, huh? Alright, well, that's gonna about cover it for today, fellas. This felt like a bit of a rant, as well as just like a raving geek out, in addition to just being a review. But I hope I went over a lot of the stuff that matters here and gave a good impression of like not just my thoughts on Dragruler, but also on how Dragruler can be utilized. Promise between me and you right now that I am going to be making a deck profile featuring Dragruler Phantom once I figure out what the frick to do with it in a hybrid build. That's my guarantee. I will be giving y'all a deck profile as soon as I can on Dragruler. Not so soon that it's crappy and ill-tested, but soon enough that it is relevant. And maybe ahead of the competition. We'll see. I don't know. I don't want to compete with my fellow YouTubers, right? You know, they're all doing good work too. And I mean, heck, some of them are Shadows mains just like I am. So, with all that said, take care. God bless.